God, Mum, you're not on Tinder.
Most people call it plenty of fuck.
We're going to make you a profile.
The Playing with Matches podcast, where women talk about their experiences dating online. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Playing with Matches. Today we meet Kat. Kat started online dating around 20 years ago, before the days of apps. She's been messed around a fair bit. Another common theme of these interviews. I think it's fair to say that she knows what she does and doesn't want. She's encountered some quite cruel messages, casual racism and terrible dates, all of which she discusses here. She also opens up about some of the issues faced by a disabled black woman, in her own words, dating online in the UK. And with all this, she has an infectious sense of humour and an optimism that can only be admired. So I should really let her get on with her own story. A couple of quick technical caveats before we start for the audio pervs. Kat was interviewed in her car by Denise. Kat pulled up into a car park and popped the phone on the dashboard. The internet signal isn't perfect. There's the occasional car going by, and the slapping and clapping noises that pop up now and again are a result of Kat's own enthusiastic storytelling. As an animated talker myself, I very much approve. None of these minor sound issues get in the way of Kat's delivery. I'd just like to give a little context. I'll be around for a quick goodbye at the end and to give you some contact details in case you feel like getting in touch with the show. Until then, take it away, Kat.
I first started online dating in the early 2000s, actually. I think it was like 2000. I think my first profile was with Dating Direct or something. I think then changed to Match like a long time ago. So I think like 2002, 2003. Didn't really get anything of much out of it. Just kind of thought, oh, this is new, dip my toe in. Didn't really go anywhere. And then I met my ex-partner in 2012, and that was on a site called Plenty of Fish. So that wasn't an app either. And so we were together from 2012 until 2017. And so in that time, that's when all the apps came up. But I was in a relationship, so I didn't access any of them. I didn't use any of them. I didn't need to. And then when we split up in 2017, once I'd healed from the breakup, I thought, oh gosh, everything's changed. Everything's app-based now. Didn't have a clue where to start. So I just kind of downloaded all of them. And so my first experience with Tinder was in 2017. It was weird. I found it a bit strange to begin with, especially being slightly older. So I was coming up for 40. So I'm 41 now. I mean, most of the apps you think are like 18 to 25. And I definitely wasn't in that category at all. I found it quite easy. They were quite easy to use. It was quite fun to use them. So yeah, I've been on all of them though. Some of them more successful than the others. Tinder's quite good. Hinge is all right. Bumble's hit and miss. OkCupid's hit and miss. They're all a bit hit and miss. I don't really consider any of them to be like looking for a relationship, but actually I am now in a relationship with somebody that I met on Tinder. So it can work in that respect, I guess. Yeah. I've got a few friends actually that met their partners, their husbands even. In fact, a good friend of mine had a baby this morning and they met on Tinder and they got married last year and they just had a baby. She was born first thing this morning. So it can work out really well, actually, once you get through all the mess and the nonsense and the junk, you know, because there is a lot of mess and a lot of nonsense and a lot of junk that you have to kind of wade through. Like completely honest now on my I started thinking, oh, I shouldn't try and come across as whimsical and bollocks. I'm brutally honest in my profiles. You know, I call a spade, and it actually has worked in my favour. I think before, when I was trying to be girly or whatever, or mysterious, I think by being honest and actually saying what it is you're looking for and what it is you want, most people will go, nah. And you know what I mean? So the people that are responding to you are actually interested in knowing more. So do you know what I mean? So as well before, by not really saying much of anything, you get all these connections, all these matches, and actually half of them, they're not interested once they get talking. So I find that more is definitely more when it comes to profiles now. I won't connect with somebody if they haven't written something. If they've just got photos, I'm not interested. If you can't even be bothered just to write a little bit about yourself, I just scroll, see ya, not interested. I'm not one of these let's chat for months rubbish. No. You know, I'm not looking for a pen pal. I'm not looking for a text buddy. Do you know what I mean? So if there is no prospect of actually meeting up and seeing if there's anything there, why are we wasting each other's time? When I first started out, it was a lot of texting this and back and forth. And I was like, this isn't what I'm on here for. This isn't what I want. I actually want to meet somebody. And so, why not suggest meeting? Yeah. So actually, I've been on quite a few dates or coffees or walks or whatever. And you can have some sort of a connection or some sort of chemistry via text. But if that doesn't translate actually having a conversation, then what's the point? And you're not going to know that until you actually get in front of each other and have a conversation. With my ex, we got together quite quickly. We got chatting and then we met and we kind of jumped in both feet very, very quickly, like instant family. I would never do that again. Don't get me wrong. I don't regret it, and actually my ex-partner was very good friends and he has a really good relationship with my children. And my son was only 1 when we got together. So my son knows that he's not his real father, but Jason's definitely his dad. And, we act as if we're co-parenting. So my little boy goes and stays with him like weekends and stuff. He's his dad. End of story. So it's amazing. And his parents are called Nana and Granddad, and that's it. I'm not looking for a parent for my children. I'm sufficient. I can do that on my own. Anybody that I meet, I'm wanting you to add value to my life. And so I like to keep it very separate. Obviously my children have met the guy that I'm seeing at the moment, but that's mummy's friend. I'm considered disabled now. I've got quite a few conditions, but for the most part, I've got autoimmune problems basically. And I have Crohn's disease. I have a permanent ileostomy, which is a bag. I don't have a large intestine anymore. It was so poorly that I had to take the whole thing out. And it was funny because I've been diagnosed since 2005. And since before I had my children, I probably should have had my colon removed years and years ago. But I had this stigma in my head. I was like, well, no one's going to want to date a single mother, let alone a single mother that poos in a bag. So I kind of let that stop me. And so I got much more unwell than I ever needed to be. And then when I got together with my ex, that's when I went for the operation, had the operation because we were all together, everything else. And then, in fact, it's funny, when splitting up and having lived with my bag for a while, it didn't faze me at all. So I'm very honest. I either put, a photograph of me in a bikini with my bag showing, or I mention it. And if I haven't mentioned it, some of us I don't mention it, but if I'm chatting to somebody, I tend to disclose it to them within the first or second conversation, because what's the point not? If I think that I'm liking somebody enough that I will potentially take my clothes off in front of them, they need to know. And I have actually found that not very many people have been that fazed by it. And so it was a false fear that I had, and actually most people have been like, okay. It's really not been an issue as much as I thought it was going to be. And I think that might be because of how I approach it. So when I tell people, it's not like, oh God, I've got to tell you something. And I'm like, okay, by the way, I've got this, and it's like, oh, right. And I think it's about how you present it and how you live with it. Maybe 2 people that have had an issue with it. And I'm like, okay, fine. It weeds out the wrong ones quite quickly, quite well. I'm attracted to everybody. I don't have a preference on race or whatever. I'm actually pansexual, so I connect with the person rather than anything. Most dating sites, Black women are at the bottom of the pile. People actually put in their bios, looking for blonde. And at one point I had blonde hair and I was like, this blonde? They're like, no. People will even list, I'm interested in, Hispanic. Like they'll say that they'll exclude Black. Do you know what I mean? And also a lot of people fetishize. So I get a lot of messages from people, oh, I've never been with a Black woman before. It's like, okay, and automatically, like from the go, sending very overtly sexual messages. And oh my God, I had one guy message me and say, I'm into role play. And I was like, okay, can I be the slave master? And I was like, for a start, we haven't even had a conversation. We haven't even said hello. Secondly, even if we were in an established relationship, how on earth did you fix that in your brain to come out of your mouth thinking that that's okay? Honestly, it's astonishing, some of the messages I've been sent. Astonishing. So fetishized. It's ridiculous. Messages, have you got a big ass? And this, it's like, well, actually, no, I don't. I actually don't. Oh, that's a shame. Why haven't you? Don't Black women? It's like, really? Come on. But they brazen, like shameless, what they're saying, like it's nothing. Like I'm not even a human being, That's been the hardest thing, I think. But then you get used to it and you just toughen up to it. And now it's like Teflon. I don't even notice it anymore because it's happened so many times. Within 2 messages, I can tell what type of person. I'm like, nah, see ya. At first, it was like quite upsetting. But now it's like, oh yeah, here's another one. Okay, see ya. Not even going to entertain this. I'm attracted to the person. I'm either connected or we don't. It's that simple. It's only been the past few years that I've kind of realised that. I always, for years thought I was just, straight woman, but actually, no, not. It is what it is. The guy that I'm seeing at the moment, he's a white man, but he is not only a feminist, he's very progressive. And so he has done the work, he's done the reading. And so I don't feel like I have to kind of, do you know what I mean? Explain anything to him, really. He's not afraid to just ask and say, okay, well, I've read this, and what's your view on this or your position on that? Recently, with the things that have been happening in the world, and like with all that happened last year with George Floyd, and then the protest and the Black Lives Matter process, there's been much more conversations happening regarding race and regarding unconscious bias and everything else. I've spent my whole life in this country living in predominantly white areas, so I've kind of very used to kind of assimilating, and that's really what it is. And even code switching, like there's ways that I will talk with my family or Black friends. It's very different to how we'll talk to anyone else. And you just get used to it. It's just like a second nature. And so sometimes actually it is nice to be around people that I don't have to do that with. But I'm so used to doing it, I don't even realise that I'm doing it anymore, if that makes sense. I think more and more people are becoming more aware of the fact that in this country, well, in most Western countries, everything comes from a white standpoint. So white is the norm, and so then everything else. And so we have to live in that. Simple things like buying makeup. Only up until about 10 years ago, I couldn't just go into a department store or Boots or Superdrug and buy a foundation. It's only been the past 10 years where they've started actually making colours, little things like that you just don't even think about or notice. You wouldn't, because you wouldn't need to. And we're just used to it, so we just get on with it. And so, when, for instance, when there's a commercial that's on and it's actually featuring a Black family or a mixed race family, and then you hear people going, oh, we're being too politically correct. And actually, where for us, it's like, oh my God, it's so nice to see that now. It's actually nice to be represented, It was so lacking before. And I think when you're in a relationship, I have been in relationships with white guys, and you've mentioned that, and they're completely oblivious and they don't understand why that's important or why that means something to me. And that's when it can get tiresome. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to have to explain this over and over again. So yeah, it is nice to be with somebody that gets it, and that does filter through in dating. It does. It absolutely does, especially if you're dating somebody of a different race. It absolutely does. Since lockdown happened and everything changed, people are much more willing to send messages and actually get conversations starting and get chatting, because they know that's the only way that you can really connect, is by starting that conversation. And do you know what I mean? And then, I think before, because it was taken for granted that if we wanted to meet, we would just meet. So it could take ages. Now people are actually like engaging and saying, okay, can we FaceTime with each other? And Yeah, it's definitely changed. Actually, I think it's changed for the better, because if you are going to ultimately meet somebody for a socially distanced walk or whatever, you really want to make sure that somebody, because your choices are, the amount of people that you can be seeing is so limited. You're making a decision, like, I want to spend time with this person. When I met the guy I'm seeing now, we met in October. So it was just after summer. You could go to restaurants and It was kind of semi out of lockdown almost. It was like kind of weird time. And we exchanged maybe 3 messages. And he was like, look, what do you rather? Do you rather chatting for ages, or do you like to just meet? I said, I like to look in somebody's eyes. And so we went, right, let's go for lunch tomorrow. Like, right, great, excellent. And we did. And so in that, went to have a meal. The conversations that we were having, it was just more genuine, because we appreciated that we'd chosen to spend time in front of each other during a pandemic where you had to be wary of who you were around and socially distant. Do you know what I mean? And so by the time we did go back into lockdown, we'd already established that we were in a relationship. And because I'm a single parent, I was able to have a support bubble. And so that was, we were able to still see each other because he's my support bubble. I knew that I couldn't mess around. If I actually wanted to spend time with somebody, we needed to kind of get all the crap out of the way quickly. Do we want to spend time together? Yes, great, okay. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, I've got quite a few friends that were single before lockdown happened, started virtually dating online during lockdown. Lockdown eased, they've met up and they're in relationships now. and then lockdown happened again and they're in the same, they're not quarantining together, but they're in the support bubble. And so they actually got into relationships during this time because for somehow it just made it easier because it cut all the faff away, you kind of had to decide, this is what I want, let's do it, whereas before, there's so much choice and I can go for a trip with this person and this one and that one. And so, yeah, I think this has actually been helpful for a lot of single people, actually. Oh, God, the amount of dick pics I've been sent. Why do men think we want to be sent photographs of their penises? What memo went out to these guys telling them that that's something that we think is attractive and that's something that we want? I just completely, the amount of unsolicited pictures I've been sent over the past 6 years, it's like ridiculous. Some guys won't even, literally, like, you'll match and they'll say, hi, how are you doing? Shall we take this to WhatsApp because it's easier? Yeah, sure, here's my number. And then, boom, very first message I receive, block. It's crazy. Have I been ghosted? I think I've been ghosted, twice. And that was because I had disclosed about my bag. And then rather than them being grown up and saying, actually, they just went. So from that perspective, it is great because it gets rid of the chaff really easily, really quickly. We weren't really doing much of anything anyway. So it hadn't really gone that far that I was invested to be bothered that I'd been ghosted, to be honest. I've never ghosted. If I'm having a conversation with somebody and I don't think it's what I want or whether it's going to go any further, I'm very good at saying, it's been a really great meeting you, chatting with you, but I don't think we're on the same page. I don't really think that we're going to connect. Do you know what I mean? I will always make a point of making sure that they know I'm not going to be connecting with you anymore. I think it's basic common courtesy. I think this whole ghosting thing is just, I think it can be quite damaging, especially if you've actually established some sort of rapport with somebody and then all of a sudden nothing. It leaves you thinking, well, hell, what did I do? What did I say? I think it can cause a lot of self-doubt amongst people. So yeah, I don't ghost. I think that's wrong. And I had a friend that got ghosted and she took it really, it was horrible. They were actually in a relationship, seeing each other and then nothing. It's really cruel. I don't understand why people think that's okay. Surely you would explain to somebody, look, I'm just not feeling this. This isn't what I want. Or, I don't understand how people can do that. It's just awful. Honestly, the amount of messages that I've got from somebody, like I've matched with somebody, 2 points to make here. Some people will match with you just to tell you that they think you're disgusting. They will match with you and the message like, hi, how are you doing? I don't know why you think I'd be interested in someone. I'm like, you matched with me. So hang on, you swiped right for me just so you could tell me that you think I'm disgusting. Why would you do that? Like, what is that about? And it happens a lot. Guys, I've got friends that have had it happen to them as well. Or someone's matched with you and you've matched and you start chatting and then you realise, or they get overtly sexual very quickly. Like, well, actually, I'd rather not. Can we just like chat and get to know each other? Oh, I was only joking. It's like, okay, well, fair enough. But that's not what I'm interested in. Well, I wouldn't be interested in you anyway, fat pig. Da, 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 da. Whereas if you'd got along with it, they'd be gay. But the minute you shut it down and say, that's actually not what I'm here for, I don't want to talk about that. That's not what I'm interested in. It's, oh, you're this or you're that. And, just bruised, petty male ego, actually, a lot of the time. I'm a member of quite a few groups. There's a group on Facebook called Did It Work? Are They Married? And it's just people sending in interactions that they've had through online dating, like, what the hell? I had one guy I was chatting to and he said, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm from London. Where are you really from? I was like, what do you mean, where am I really from? I'm from London. Well, where are your parents from? Oh, okay. Well, they're from America. Now, where are they really from? I was like, are you serious? Really? Yeah, I've had some doozies of messages. Opening message being, oh, I love your luscious lips and your big tits. And have you got a big black booty? It's like, hi. That's the first message. Like, do these lines work on people? It's like, really? Yes, you do get a lot of that. So I think being a woman is hard enough. Being a disabled black woman is even more difficult, but you just kind of get on with it. Do you know what I mean? You just take it for what it is and get on with it. I think it's about how you approach things. I think when I was kind of, like I said, worried about my condition and worried about my illness and worried about the fact that I was a single mum and worried about that came through. And so people would feed off of that and they'd go, there's something not quite. Once you go, you know what? I can't change any of this. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. It makes life so much easier. I'll give you an example. Okay, my mum. This is brilliant. My mum met my stepdad, her husband. Guardian. They used to have the soulmates at the back of the paper. So my 1998, my mum was with her best friend, and they were having a couple of drinks, and her best friend had met her now husband using that, and she said, "Just do it. I've met this great guy Phil. We've been out on some dates. She's like, no, I'm not doing it. This is ridiculous. Just do it. So they're a bit drunk. She's like, okay, fine, let's do it. So my mum wrote an advert, and it said, loud black American 40-something woman with 25 teenage children's brackets. I'm a foster carer. I'll explain if we meet. Seeks whatever. And then she put, no boozers, no losers. And if you don't have a job, don't bother ringing me. And that was her ad. It's a joke, thinking that no one would ever answer. My stepdad looks at it and goes, oh my God, I have to meet this woman, even if it's just to go for a drink so I can just see who this person is. That any person that would write this as an advert looking for love, I've got to meet that person. They've been married for 20 years. They've been together ever since. Because she just, as a joke, went, no, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. I won't take this, I won't take that. If you haven't got this, leave me alone. And from that, I thought, you know what? If more people were like that, were just upfront and honest and said, this is who I am, you'd cut down on so much unnecessary nonsense. And that's why I won't connect with anybody that hasn't got anything written about themselves. That's why. And actually, I have to say, since, as I said earlier, since changing my profile and being very honest and direct and this is who I am, I've had a lot more success. So many stories. I had the one guy that turned up for a first date and he was so drunk, like hammered, like really, really drunk when he got there. And I was like, this is really disrespectful. And so I had friends of mine that were going out for dinner and I met them for drinks first. I said, right, I'm going to go on this date. And they said, well, if it doesn't go well, this is where we'll be. So, I turn up, this guy turns up and he's absolutely bollocks, like so drunk. And I was like, we've been talking for a while. You know that I have, this was before I had my son, such as, I have a child. You know that I've paid for a babysitter to be here and you can't even have the respect. I really told him off, said, this is disrespectful and this is rude and I'm leaving. I left and I met my friends and we had dinner. About 6 months later, I got a message from this guy and he said, look, I just want to apologise. I'm really, really sorry. Please, can I take you out again? And I was like, there's no, please, I just want to explain. And so I said, okay, fine. So we met up and he said, look, I'm really, really sorry. On that day, I'd had terrible news and I was going through a lot and I probably shouldn't have been dating. And he told me I had an alcohol problem and he was just very open and honest. And he said, and I'm in AA now and I'm not drinking, but part of my amends is I wanted to make an amends to you. And I was like, oh, well, that wasn't really, he said, no, it was necessary. What I did was completely out of order. So I'm really, really sorry. I said, okay, fine. We had a really lovely meal and we became Facebook friends and we chatted for a while and he's now happily married and doing really well. So that was, and he said it was actually me telling him off that kind of made him go, oh shit, had I not told him off, he said, you told me off and I woke up the next day, so I felt terrible. And no, I knew I'd blown it. And then that was one of the things to kick up the arse for me to get help. And I was like, oh, great. Fantastic. Oh, God, there's another guy. So we met online, right? And, we've been chatting. He was quite full on. Oh, I really want to take you out. So, he took me out, went for dinner and he came back and, it was like, stayed over and whatever. And he kept saying things like, I don't remember your house looking like this. And I was like, we've never met. You've never been to my house. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, maybe I've imagined it. Turns out that he wasn't that good in bed. It was quite boring. Anyway, turns out that he'd met up with my sister. He'd met my sister. They'd gone out, hooked up. He'd gone back to her house. He wasn't all that great. So she's like, ended him, was like, no, I'm not interested. He saw me, thought all his Christmases had come at once because it means he was getting a second chance with my sister. And then I found out, I said, well, it was a really weird date the other night, speaking to my sister. And I was like, yeah, it was a bit odd. And I showed her, she went, oh no, him. Oh. It turns out he thought I was her. Yeah, so that was fun. It's like, oh, that's really bad. I'm like, oh no. So yeah, that happened. Yeah, there was the guy that I met and we went on a date, and then it wasn't going that great, but then we bumped into friends, at a pub, and he ended up fancying one of my friends, and now they're married. They wouldn't have met had I not gone on a date with him and taken him to meet my mates. So, all's fair and lovable. It's been a wild ride. But I think there's a lot to be said for it. I think, the way that times are changing and people don't meet people like they used to, it's like when I was at university, for instance, quite a few of my friends met their partners at university and then they got married. And, and if you don't do that, if you miss that bit and then you get a job and you're working a lot of hours and so you don't have that, how do you then get to meet people? So I think actually online dating and the apps has been very good for that making it so that people can build connections and stuff, but it does come with its issues. Mostly men being the issue. Used to ring up. I even tried that at the very beginning, the PO box, and you ring up. And I said, I'm older than I look. So that was my first kind of foray into it. Like the phone number at the back of the magazine and the PO box number, and leaving messages. Kind of seemed a bit sad or a bit taboo, like Lonely Hearts kind of. It had a real stigma attached to it. Whereas now, half of my friends met their husbands online.
So that was the incredible Kat. Funny and empowering, and for me at least enlightening on the subject of why some women have quite prescriptive or negative sounding profiles. It's just about finding the right person, I guess. And it certainly worked for Kat's mother. There's a lot to think about there, not least those dick pics again. They keep on coming, don't they? It's easy to make light of it, but it's a pretty aggressive gesture when it's not asked for. And in real life, of course, it's always been illegal to get your knob out in front of strangers. I guess it's just easier to get away with on the internet, and it's as simple as that. I wonder what your thoughts are on the subject. Well, a beautiful segue, because we have an email address where you can contact us about all things to do with the show or online dating in general, particularly your own thoughts or experiences. You can write to us or attach a voice note, whichever you prefer. You can remain anonymous or tell us your name. It's all up to you. So the address is playingwithmatchespodcast@gmail.com. That's playingwithmatchespodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much to Kat for being so candid and being such a great interviewee. And thanks to all of you out there for listening. Please follow if you haven't done so already. And until next time, good luck out there and on there. Bye-bye.